Man, bro, did a song with Lil Tab. Shut y'all pussy ass, bitch ass, ain't gonna do shit ass niggas up, man. All that crying and shit by the fucking song. Nigga, get some fucking money.
Chief Keef just stunned the whole scene. He linked up with NBA Youngboy, the biggest rival connected to O-Block, and now word in the streets is that his own circle feels some type of way about it. OTF members are flooding social media saying they're done with Sosa, and the tension is heating up fast. But here's what most people miss. Keef quietly cut ties with O-Block years ago, and today we're breaking down exactly why he stepped away from the same block that helped turn him into a legend. Chief Keef was once the face of O-Block, the drill pioneer who put Chicago on the world map. But as time passed, the love from his own block slowly twisted into something ugly. That new link with NBA Youngboy didn't just upset OTF, it dragged years of silent friction straight into the spotlight. To really understand how Sosa went from O-Block royalty to public enemy #1, we've got to rewind and see how everything cracked. Back in the early 2000s, before fame, before millions, he was just Keith Cozart, a kid from Parkway Gardens, known to everyone as O-Block. In those days, he was locked in with his crew, King Von, Boss Top, T-Roy, and the rest of the guys. These weren't industry friends, these were his day ones, the same people he grew up with in survival mode, where every day felt like you had to stay alert. The loyalty was real. They were all black disciples, all from the same side, moving like one unit in a city that never showed mercy. Even back then, Keef's talent stood out. He'd be rapping into that small karaoke mic, already crafting a sound that felt different. Von was building his name in the streets. Boss Top carried himself like a respected big brother, and T-Roy had a reputation that made people stay cautious. This was before the spotlight, before the checks, just young guys trying to make it out of one of Chicago's toughest environments. They went through everything together. Police sweeps, street conflicts, constant pressure. When one got locked up, the rest stood solid, no hesitation. Keef and King Von especially had a deep bond. Von was known in the streets, while Keef stayed focused in the studio, shaping that drill sound that would later shake the industry. They were always around each other, two young guys living fast and chasing their own version of success. Their connection wasn't just music, it was brotherhood. But everything flipped the second I Don't Like dropped in 2012. That track didn't just go viral, it exploded. It kicked the doors open for drill music worldwide. Millions of views rolled in. Kanye West jumped on the remix, and suddenly this teenager from Chicago was the hottest name in rap. When the Interscope deal, reportedly worth around $6 million, came through, Keef went from Parkway Gardens to superstar status overnight. And that's where the real shift began. Money changes movement, and Keef's first major move was leaving Chicago for Los Angeles. In O-Block culture, that kind of move hits different. When one of your own makes it out, there's an unspoken expectation. You bring the team with you. That's the code. You don't forget the people who stood beside you when you had nothing. But Keef made a decision that would follow him for years. Instead of bringing Von, Boss Top, and the rest of O-Block, he took his blood cousins Tido and Ball Out from Glow Gang. From a business angle, that makes sense. Family is family. He probably felt blood was who he could trust most. But from the street perspective, that cut deep. It felt personal. The same guys who rode with him through chaos were now watching from Chicago while he was living in Hollywood. That's when the whispers started. Resentment crept in. Jealousy mixed with disappointment. Hurt feelings turned into tension. It wasn't loud at first, but it was there. As Keef's career kept rising, people close to the situation say O-Block members expected him to look out, put him on payroll, help with deals, fly him out to LA, let him be part of the wave. But Keef was moving different now. His focus shifted away from the street life that built his name. He had a multi-million-dollar deal, and getting tangled up in street politics could have jeopardized everything he worked for. From a practical standpoint, you can understand it. When you reach that level, one wrong move can cost you millions. But the homies didn't see business, they saw distance. To them, it looked like fame changed him, like he forgot who had his back before the world knew his name. That's when things started getting darker. And the next situation, that's the one that really shattered the relationship. Trey Roy, one of the most respected names from the block, allegedly got locked up on a serious charge and needed $25,000 for bond. This wasn't just anybody. Trey 5 was allegedly one of O-Block's most feared shooters, someone who had put in serious work for that block and for Keef himself back in the day. The crew felt like they owed him, so when he got locked up, they moved fast. They started grinding, hustling, doing whatever they could to raise that bond money before time ran out. After non-stop effort, they scraped together about $18,000, but they were still $7,000 short, and the clock was ticking heavy. That's when they reached out to the one person they believed wouldn't hesitate, Chief Keef. In their minds, this was light work. 7 bands was nothing to Sosa at that level, especially for someone who protected him when he was just another kid from Parkway Gardens trying to survive. At first, Keef said he'd handle it, no pause. The block felt relief instantly. People started talking like everything was good again, saying Sosa's still solid. He didn't forget where he came from. Then, out of nowhere, he went completely ghost. No calls, no texts, no response at all. He vanished like they never existed. The crew kept reaching out, hoping it was some misunderstanding, but Sosa stayed silent, and that silence hit harder than anything. It stopped being about $7,000. It became about loyalty, respect, and feeling like their own superstar had erased them. While all this was unfolding, Keef was online living flashy, posting luxury cars, heavy jewelry, designer fits, and even flexing about spending $10,000 on a four-wheeler. That alone could have covered the rest of the bond. To the block, it looked wild. They were struggling to bring their guy home, and their so-called brother was flexing for likes like nothing was wrong. That's when the anger inside O-Block really started bubbling. They felt embarrassed, betrayed, straight up left behind by someone they once called family. And when it became clear Sosa wasn't stepping in, Boss Top, King Von, and others made a serious decision. They stopped waiting. They decided to handle it themselves. And what they chose to do next changed everything. They planned to rob Chief Keef. Not strangers, not outsiders. This was personal. These were guys who grew up with him. They knew his routines, where he stayed, how he moved. They broke into the house he was renting with his manager. Once inside, the situation escalated fast. It turned into a full-on robbery. Jewelry, clothes, designer sneakers, even small personal items. Nothing was off limits. It was chaos. And the most shocking claim? Boss Top allegedly snatched Keef's chain during the incident. In street culture, that move sends a loud message. Taking someone's chain isn't just theft, it's a statement. It signals disrespect on a whole different level. It meant they no longer viewed Sosa as untouchable. But it didn't stop there. During the chaos, one of Keef's own associates ended up getting shot. The details remain unclear about exactly what happened in that moment, but one thing is certain, it escalated from a robbery into something dangerous fast. This wasn't petty anymore. It turned into a violent clash between people who once stood shoulder to shoulder. By the end of it, the crew walked away with what they came for. They later used that money to bond out Trey Roy, finally bringing him home. In their eyes, they completed the mission. But the cost? Massive. That night didn't just damage property, it shattered trust. Whatever loyalty was left between Sosa and O-Block cracked beyond repair. The brotherhood that once felt unbreakable was officially fractured. Keef's former manager reportedly contacted law enforcement during the incident, but when authorities arrived, nobody cooperated. No statements, no pointing fingers. The code stayed intact. Even when lines were crossed, nobody talked. But silence doesn't equal peace. Keef knew who was behind it, and that kind of betrayal doesn't fade. It sits heavy, it lingers. Still, what came next made that robbery look small compared to the storm brewing. According to multiple street reports and insider accounts, the tension escalated even further. King Von was later allegedly linked in conversations surrounding the death of Keef's cousin, Blood Money. And this is where the story turns tragic.
Blood Money, whose real name was Mario Hess, wasn't just family. He was part of Keef's Front Street circle and one of his earliest supporters, someone who believed in him before the deals and the fame. Losing him cut deep. Now the narrative wasn't just about money or pride or a robbery gone wrong. It was about blood ties, broken alliances, and pain that couldn't be undone. The situation between Sosa and O-Block had crossed into territory that no friendship easily survives. Sadly, in 2014, Blood Money was shot and killed. For years, nobody had clear answers about what really happened or who was responsible. The official version painted it as another tragedy in Chicago's ongoing gang violence, but the streets weren't buying that simple explanation. Whispers moved fast, and one name kept surfacing: King Von. Online detectives started digging through old tweets, interviews, and posts from that era, trying to piece together their own version of events. Some believed it was retaliation over past tensions. Others pushed the heavier theory, that Von allegedly did it as a direct message aimed straight at Chief Keef. Think about the timing. This all unfolded while Keef's relationship with O-Block was already crumbling. Loyalty was fractured, pride was bruised, emotions were high, and then suddenly, his own cousin is gone under mysterious circumstances. The overlap felt too close for many people to ignore. Then came the post that made everything even colder. After Blood Money's death, Von allegedly shared cryptic messages online. In one post, he said, "I'm King Von from O-Block. I run shit." Some people believe that line mirrored a lyric from Blood Money's music, almost like it was meant to assert dominance in the middle of tragedy. Whether coincidence or not, the internet ran with it. It didn't stop there. A woman named K.I., who was rumored in street conversations to have some connection to Blood Money's case, was killed just days before Von made that post. The timing fueled even more speculation. It felt like the streets were communicating in actions, not words. From that point on, whatever was left between Chief Keef and O-Block seemed beyond repair. What started as brotherhood has spiraled into heartbreak and suspicion. The situation became layered with grief, anger, and unresolved tension that still echoes in Chicago conversations today. Some believe Von was reacting to other street events that happened around that time. Others believe he had deeper involvement. Former O-Block affiliate J Hood has spoken in interviews about internal dynamics, claiming that during that era, Von and T. Roy were closely aligned with Boss Top's direction. If Boss Top had issues with Keef and wanted to send a strong message, some speculate Von and T. Roy would have been the ones carrying out moves. That theory paints a dark picture. It suggests not just robbery, but something far more painful. And if any of that holds true, it would explain why Keef's resentment runs so deep. Years later, in November 2020, King Von was tragically killed in Atlanta. The hip-hop world reacted instantly. Tributes poured in. Artists across Chicago and beyond shared memories and condolences. But Chief Keef? Silence. No post, no story, no tweet, nothing at all. And this wasn't just another rapper. This was someone he grew up with. Someone he once stood beside daily in Parkway Gardens. Yet when Von passed, Sosa stayed completely quiet. In a culture where posting respect is almost expected, that silence hit louder than any statement. In the streets and in rap, when someone from your circle dies, you usually honor them publicly. You share pictures, you say a few words, you acknowledge the history. Keef didn't. To many, that confirmed what had been obvious for years. The relationship had been dead long before Von's passing. Old interviews revealed that Von and Keef had recorded music together in their early days, but none of it was ever released. Not one track saw daylight. That says a lot. Keef chose not to put that music out. He could have boosted Von's exposure early on. He could have profited from nostalgia, but he didn't. That decision felt personal, like he'd rather let those songs collect dust and reopen old wounds. When news of Von's death spread, major Chicago names like Lil Durk and Polo G shared tributes. Even artists who once had tension showed respect. Keef stayed silent. To many observers, that silence spoke volumes. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was just cold. It suggested the damage between them went beyond internet rumors. It showed that whatever once connected them had fully dissolved. Years of betrayal, the robbery, the speculation around blood money, the unresolved tension, it all stacked up. What once looked like brotherhood had turned into something heavy and distant. Fast forward to 2024, and Chief Keef made another move that shook everything again. Out of nowhere, he linked up with NBA YoungBoy. To someone outside Chicago politics, that might just sound like another collaboration, but inside the culture, that was major. This wasn't random. NBA YoungBoy has had one of the most public rivalries with Lil Durk and OTF. Diss tracks, tension between camps, real-life consequences that went beyond music. So when Keef, a figure historically tied to O-Block, appeared in the studio laughing and vibing with YoungBoy, it sent shockwaves. When the footage surfaced online, fans immediately understood it wasn't just for attention. The energy looked natural, comfortable, like it wasn't forced for clout.
From Keef's perspective, the timing was interesting. For years, he had mostly stayed out of the Dirk versus Youngboy conflict. He kept distance. He avoided picking sides publicly. But something shifted. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was independence. Maybe it was simply him deciding he owed nobody allegiance anymore. Whatever the reason, the message felt clear. He was moving on his own terms. And that choice didn't sit well with certain Chicago affiliates. As soon as the studio clips hit social media, reactions flooded in. Instagram stories, tweets, cryptic captions. The tone was sharp. It became obvious that some people viewed the link-up as crossing a serious line. For many in OTF and O-Block circles, this wasn't just about music. It was about alliances, history, and long-standing tensions. And in their eyes, Keef had just drawn a bold line in the sand. The move wasn't subtle. It wasn't quiet. It was loud without words. And just like that, old wounds that never fully healed were ripped open again. The message couldn't have been any clearer. If you stand with Youngboy, you stand against us. No middle ground. Some OTF affiliates even posted, "We don't mess with that type of movement." And Sosa switched sides. The tone was icy, angry, personal. And what made it heavier is that this wasn't just random internet noise from fans who don't know the history. People close to the situation, ones who really understand the history between Keef and O-Block, started speaking up too. And they weren't sugarcoating anything. They called it the final straw, the move that erased any chance of peace or reconciliation. After years of quiet distance, the OTF camp finally exploded. They didn't care about past hits, fame, or legacy. This was about loyalty. And from their perspective, Sosa threw that loyalty away the second he stepped in that studio with Youngboy. Chief Keef didn't just record a track. He reopened one of the most intense rivalries in modern hip-hop and made it clear he's no longer playing by Chicago's rules. The city felt slighted. The internet went wild. And Keef, he looked calm, almost like he'd been waiting years to make this move loud and public. What made OTF's reaction so explosive wasn't just the music. It was what it symbolized. To them, this wasn't about beats and hooks. It was about siding with someone who had openly clashed with their camp for years, someone tied to one of the most public rivalries in rap. But Keef's side wasn't about to sit quietly either. Glow Gang fired back immediately. One affiliate jumped online and posted, "We don't care what OTF got going." The message was blunt, much dismissive, almost mocking, like they weren't intimidated at all. Another Glow Gang member doubled down, laughing about the whole situation online, posting emojis, cracking jokes, treating the tension like entertainment. And that only fueled OTF's frustration more. The more serious OTF became, the more Glow Gang seemed to clown it. The gap between both sides kept widening. Then came a twist nobody expected. A Glow Gang insider claimed Keef and Youngboy didn't just make one song, they made 7. 6 unreleased tracks sitting in the vault, ready to drop anytime. That detail changed everything. If true, this wasn't a random link-up. It was a partnership, a strategy. That suggested Keef wasn't reacting emotionally, he was thinking long-term. Glow Gang has operated independently for years, dropping music, running their brand, building revenue without relying on Chicago cosigns. Their stance felt clear. We built our own lane. Some affiliates even hinted that working with Youngboy was smarter business than collaborating locally right now. Bigger reach, bigger streaming numbers, bigger checks. From their angle, this wasn't betrayal, it was expansion. They see it as strategy, a calculated move to grow the brand. And if old relationships can't handle that, that's not their problem.
Keef's mindset seems locked on one thing, forward motion, even if that means leaving emotional ties behind. But then things escalated again. Lil Tim, the man involved in the 2020 Atlanta incident that led to King Von's death, entered the conversation. He publicly showed support for Keef's move with Youngboy, and that's when the tension crossed into dangerous territory. Think about that dynamic. Someone directly connected to Von's tragic passing, publicly backing Chief Keef's collaboration. For OTF, that wasn't just disrespect, it felt like a public jab. It blurred the lines between music moves and real-life history. His involvement added another layer. It made the situation feel less like rap rivalry and more like overlapping personal wounds. Chicago and Baton Rouge politics colliding in one moment. Some observers think Tim was simply showing loyalty to Youngboy.
Others speculate he might understand deeper layers of Keef's past with Von and O-Block, or maybe he was just amplifying the controversy. Either way, his cosign added fuel to an already explosive situation. When someone tied to that chapter publicly backs your move against that same circle, it sends a powerful signal, and people noticed. But to really grasp why this situation feels so heavy, you have to look beyond music. This isn't just about tracks, streaming numbers, or viral clips. It's about street codes, respect, loyalty, perception. From Keef's point of view, he likely feels justified. In his eyes, his own people robbed him. There were rumors surrounding his cousin's death. Loyalty felt one-sided. He may see this as distancing himself from chaos. He's the one who put O-Block on the global stage. His music opened doors worldwide. From that angle, he could argue he earned the right to move however he wants. But from O-Block's perspective, the story flips. They believe Keef left when he got rich, moved to Los Angeles, took only blood relatives, didn't show up when they felt he was needed, like during the Trey 5 bond. To them, that wasn't business, that was abandonment. They don't see career protection, they see someone who forgot the trenches once the spotlight hit. And the truth, it probably sits somewhere in the middle. Keef likely distanced himself to protect his future. Fame magnifies every mistake. One wrong association can cost millions. That pressure is real. At the same time, O-Block may have expected him to carry more responsibility than one person realistically can. They saw him as the ticket out, the symbol of hope. And when he chose self-preservation, it felt personal. That's why this feud cuts so deep. Both sides feel wrong. Both sides feel justified. Keef believes betrayal came first, so every move he makes now is independence. O-Block believes he distanced himself first, so their reaction was a response. It's a cycle. Pride on both ends. No one willing to publicly bend. And this tension doesn't just stay in the streets. It reshapes the music industry around it. Chief Keef isn't just another artist. He's a symbol of drill's foundation. Every move he makes carries history behind it. And when someone with that legacy makes a statement this bold, the ripple effect hits far beyond one studio session. He's the godfather of drill, the architect of the sound that blasted Chicago onto the global stage. His beats, his flow, his raw energy, it sparked an entire movement. So when Chief Keef links up with NBA Youngboy, a name tied to some of Chicago's biggest rivalries, it's not just personal drama, it's a massive shift in drill's power structure. What started as neighborhood tension has now turned into an international headline. This isn't just about two artists in a studio. It's about loyalty, dominance, and legacy in modern hip-hop. And right at the center stands Chief Keef, the same man who built the drill empire, now tearing down the old walls to build something brand new. This situation proves something harsh. Even the biggest names in rap can't fully escape the politics tied to where they came from. Chief Keef, the pioneer who shaped drill from nothing, is now aligned with Youngboy, and that single move just tilted the balance of power. For Youngboy, this is huge. Linking with the creator of drill gives him serious credibility in his ongoing clashes with Lil Durk and OTF. Having Chief Keef in your corner, that's not small. That's like getting the ultimate stamp. It adds weight, it adds validation, and it likely boosted his confidence stepping into battles with Lil Durk and OTF. But for Chicago artists, this creates a dilemma. Do they continue honoring Keef as the legend who paved the way, or do they distance themselves because he teamed up with someone viewed as opposition? For many, the answer is simple. Loyalty comes first, and that's where things turn serious. Because this isn't harmless internet chatter. Chicago politics carry real consequences. When certain lines are crossed, history shows tensions can escalate fast. The fact that OTF affiliates publicly distance themselves from Keef shows how deep it runs. This isn't about charts or streaming numbers. It's about respect and perception in a culture where alliances matter. From O-Block's perspective, linking with their rival looks like the ultimate betrayal. That's how they see it. But here's the twist. Chief Keef doesn't appear concerned. He's been in Los Angeles for years now, far from the daily chaos, surrounded by security, running his brand independently. He's grown into someone who moves calculated, not emotional. He likely understands the risks, and he likely calculated them already. At this stage, he's focused on control, his career, his partnerships, his direction. The question now is whether this remains online, limited to lyrics and social posts, or whether it spills beyond that. History shows when tensions mix with pride and old wounds, things can escalate quickly. And what makes this situation even more intense is how interconnected everything is. This isn't one isolated conflict, it's layers. Keith and O-Block history, Dirk and Youngboy rivalry, long-standing Chicago tension stretching back years, all of it colliding at once. That kind of overlap can create chaos. At the core of it all, Keef's decision feels symbolic. It represents a final break from the city politics that shaped his early career. After years of tension, distance, and unresolved history, he made his choice, and it wasn't aligned with the block that helped launch him. This marks a turning point. Chief Keef isn't just sending a message to O-Block or OTF, he's sending a message to the entire industry. He's showing he doesn't depend on hometown validation anymore. He's operating independently. Standing next to Youngboy signals one thing clearly. He's beyond seeking approval. This wasn't just one photo or one session. It was the product of years of built-up tension finally boiling over. Keef is telling the world he'll collaborate with whoever he chooses. No permission needed. Fans are divided, the streets are watching, and with rumors of 6 unreleased tracks sitting in the vault, this collaboration may only be getting started. Chemistry looks real, the energy feels intentional. Meanwhile, OTF and O-Block appear firm in their stance. From their perspective, certain lines don't get uncrossed. What's tragic is how this reflects the destructive side of street politics and music. Keef once could have been the bridge connecting Chicago's different voices. Instead, he's now seen by some as distant from the very city that raised him. That type of fallout doesn't get repaired overnight. It's deeper than social media posts. It's layered with years of pride and hurt. For younger artists coming up, this whole saga carries lessons. It shows how quickly relationships can shift when fame, money, and street expectations collide. Brotherhood can strain, expectations can overwhelm, perception can change everything. But this isn't just a Chicago issue. It reflects a broader question in hip-hop: authenticity versus survival. Can loyalty survive when careers expand and millions are involved? Keef's decision to prioritize his own path sends a message. In this industry, alliances evolve. Loyalty isn't automatic. Success often forces difficult choices. One thing feels certain: the drill landscape will never look exactly the same again. The former face of O-Block has stepped into a new lane, and in a culture where loyalty carries heavy weight, that's a bold move. The situation keeps heating up. More music could drop. More reactions will surface. Every lyric, every post, every appearance will be analyzed. This isn't just about songs anymore. It's about legacy, reputation, history. When pride, business, and unresolved tension collide, outcomes become unpredictable. Every move from here will be watched closely. Every collaboration dissected. Every bar examined for hidden meaning. Will things cool down, or will the tension keep building? Chicago history suggests these situations rarely fade quietly. Chief Keef has ignited a moment that's been building for over a decade, and the world is watching how it unfolds. These types of rivalries don't just shape headlines, they influence the direction of culture. How far will it go? That remains the question. Knowing the history tied to drill and the pride attached to it, this could mark a new chapter in a long-running conflict. One thing's clear: it's only getting more intense. And we'll be right here breaking down every twist, every update, and every unexpected move as it happens. So tap that like button, subscribe to Street Smoke, share this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. This story is still unfolding, and you won't want to miss what comes next.